And hello once again, everyone, back here providing you with the quarterfinals tier of the Overdrive League Platinum Division. I am Premise alongside Ruhahi. How are we doing tonight?
Oh, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, I gotta admit here, Primus. We're about ready to go with another game here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this series play out, because we saw how one-sided, to say the least, the opening series is. But I'd hope for a little bit closer games, because I always enjoy a well-fought game. Like, I'm not a fan for the one-sided games, even though that's how solo queue mostly ends up being here at this point. But the two teams we've got here for you tonight for this quarterfinal match are going to be the side of BDSM, which is going to be on the blue side for game number 1 here, taking on the side of DOV eSports. Bands have coming through hot and furious here. We've got Brand, Alawi, and Malzahar being taken off the table by the side of BDSM. And then we have Lee Sin, Fizz, and Zyra coming off for DOV. And there's the Akali.
Oh, now Akali is an interesting pick to pick up so early. She's still really fresh off of the hot plate, but we have seen a lot of her potential for getting in and out of fights, being able to pick and choose which fight she wants to go in on, and she does still bring a lot of Akali damage that she brought before her rework.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing is what separates good Akali players from bad Akali players is their use of the R1 and R2 is how they use the initial R, because it's the second R that has all the damage on it, right? Because that's the one that has the execute and all that, everything in it. So how they can play around using that necessarily as initiation, getting off the microstun, that type of thing, and then going into the second ultimate to get the kill is kind of what I feel like separates the good Akali players from great Akali players, not to mention all the Shroud interactions, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. We have Morgana and Graves coming in for the side of DOV, being responded by Admiral Avery. I swear, this is the third or fourth time I've casted BDSM, and this is like the third time he's gotten Xin Zhao, and it's his signature champion. He always performs utterly fantastic on it. Keeps me wondering why people keep giving it to him. And then, of course, they also pick up the Braum for homie in the bot lane. Braum, always a good stable bot lane choice.
Yeah, the Xin Zhao brings a lot of early pressure. He's one of the strongest jungle duelists that's out there for the early game. Level 2, he just pops off harder than most any other jungler. He's able to duel, he's able to gank, and he has decent clear. Fighting the Graves, though, he might have a hard time going in and trying to find him without an ambush. Despite being able to jump on him, the Graves can just dash away and start auto-attacking him and kiting him. Unless he's able to get that ambush off and force the Graves to dash, we probably won't see a Xin Zhao getting a kill onto the Graves early game.
Not to mention the annoyance of smoke screen for melee champions.
Yes, especially that. Meanwhile, the supports going the Morgana and the Braum. It's interesting to see the Braum being picked up after the Morgana. The Braum's stun is very telegraphed. Morgana can throw on her black shield onto the target very late into it. It is 4 auto attacks that need to go on to them, so that's very telegraphed. Everything else about Braum, like the Morgana was picked up first, and picking Braum into Morgana is a really interesting situation that you have.
I mean, as a support player, I don't feel like Braum gets as punished very heavily. I mean, yes, you don't really have the ability to really all in, unless you have an AD carry with some sort of CC that can bait out Black Shield early, or get a jungle gank that can force it out early, and then you can swap targets. Relatively easy to proc that stun. But we went through the second base of Fizz. We had the Varus coming in for Afterbuck, who's still favoring the hyper carry play style. That's kind of his bread and butter, but Varus was not really one of his go-to picks, but still a very strong champion if you can get to that late game. Then we had Caitlyn, Lucian, Syndra, and Fiora being the bans here. So going to be forcing Steph onto a much slower AD carry pick here, and then of course they pick up the Camille for Terra up and out.
Now I am interested to see what they pick for their mid laner. We see quite a lot of mid lane champions being banned out for the side of by BDSM for the side of DOV. It looks like they're a bit antsy about what might be picked up there. But on the other hand, we have Ezreal versus Varus. These are both very heavy poke champions. The Ezreal with his Qs, he's very slippery. The Varus, on the other hand, he's much more engage poke as opposed to slippery kind of poke. He doesn't have any form of mobility, but his ultimate just allows him to lock people down.
Yeah, I'm always wary of seeing the Ezreal getting picked up because I feel like you have to be so on point on this champion to really execute, because if you're sitting back and just farming, I feel like you're not executing that champion to the fullest potential, because the amount of damage you can get with the passive in the early game, plus your mystic shots, plus with a Braum, who's a very good pair with the Ezreal, because Ezreal can drop the passive extremely quickly, as we did see the Lux coming in for Chalovers in the mid game. Mid lane, I'm not sure that's the best pick into Akali. I mean, yes, if Lux ever manages to land a binding, she can obviously 100 the Akali before the Akali can do anything. But I feel like it's going to be nigh on impossible to land that binding on Akali in the mid lane.
Well, she might not have to land the binding. All of her skills are skill shots. None of them are targeted, and they're all AoE. So picking Lux into the Akali is actually a pretty decent pick. She doesn't have to see the Akali to land the damage that she needs to get onto her. And seeing the Varus Morgana versus Ezreal Braum, it looks like BDSM going into the bottom lane, they want to be very safe. They aren't actually looking for these fights. They've got the Ezreal who's slippery. He's going to be able to dodge those Morgana bindings. And if he does get caught, Braum can just put up a shield and block all of the range damage. In the jungle, we see Xin Zhao versus Graves. As said before, Xin Zhao is very strong. He's going to be looking for those ganks, but when it comes to the dueling, unless he gets the ambush on Graves, he's not really going to be getting anything off of him. And the Graves is just going to be looking for farm and picking up ganks where they're pretty much a foregone conclusion. He's more about the map farm, map presence, taking objectives, and the Xin Zhao is about forcing objectives, forcing the ganks, and really just being a force to be reckoned with. And then we see the Jax versus Camille. I'm not too sure about the matchup. I'm a little rusty with my top laners. But Jax is a well-known hyper carry. Just being able to dominate people even from behind as long as he gets one or two items. But the Camille brings a lot of options to the side of DOV. She has a long-range engage. She's able to force people to stay in position. Very similar to like Morgana. If she lands her binding, that takes forever and a day to wear off, even if you have Merc Treads.
I sense a little salt there.
Yeah, me and Morg, we go way back. I gotta admit, as a jungler, I show up for a gank, Morgana throws a binding, and I eat it with my face. Gank's over.
You just walk away like a sad panda. But going back to that top lane you mentioned, as I do know a little bit as I have been played top lane in the past, is Jax is considered a well-known counter pick to the Camille because you have the ability with that counter strike that can negate pretty much all of Camille's Q damage. If you ever hook shot, you just press E and it's just like, okay, we traded E's. You don't actually ever get a good trade. So if you're the Camille in this matchup, it wouldn't surprise me if Terra actually put an extra point in the W early and just tried to play the poke battle, because Jax has no innate sustain. Because there's no way she ever actually wins a all-in, assuming Airlight plays the matchup properly. But we are getting into the loading screen here. I do have to ask, who do you actually favor in terms of this draft? Because I feel like both team compositions do a lot of similar things. Like, there's no tanks on the table for either team. It's just a bunch of damage on both sides. But who do you give the edge to?
Well, now take this with a grain of salt, as my predictions have often gone in the opposite way. Like, if I were a betting man, I would bet against my predictions just from the way they go. But I want to give the advantage to the side of DOV. You know, they bring a lot of damage, a lot of upfront burst damage, a lot of long-range poke that can turn into engages. We have the Lux Snare, the Morgana Snare. Morgana is going to probably be building that Zonya's Hourglass, so we have the follow-up initiation if they get initiated on. We have the long-range engage by Camille. We have a long-range engage / counter-engage by the Varus. And just the straight-up damage from Graves, burst from Lux. The Xin Zhao will be a force to be reckoned with if he finds any sort of lead in the early game. That will translate to a very strong mid game, and he might just run away with the game at that point. And we also have the Jax, who is a very strong hyper carry. You say he's a counter pick against the Camille, so that lane is already in favor for him unless Terra finds a way to outplay him or just get roams off of him by shoving in, taking advantage when he doesn't have the Tiamat. The Akali versus Lux, I give the advantage to the Lux early game, but later on the Akali will be far too slippery, and unless you land a snare first, she's just going to dodge around the team fight and get kills.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that gives Lux additional help in this lane is the fact that she does have that extra shield with her W. That might be able to mitigate some of the bursts coming in from Akali. But we are on to the Rift here for game number 1 here. I do want to kind of focus on this jungle matchup because I mentioned how volatile the top lane is that, yes, it's a Jack's favorite matchup, but it can easily swing one way or the other. Where do you think Avery and Hot Office are going to really be looking to path? Because it looks like both of them are going to be starting on the bottom side of the map. So where are you looking to see both of them end up pathing here to look for that first gank?
It was interesting for a moment. The Xin Zhao looked like he was setting up by the blue buff, but coming down to the red buff, it looks like they're just going to do buff, and Xin Zhao will probably be looking for that bottom scuttle, while the Graves will be looking for the full clear of his jungle. But it looks like Xin Zhao's actually moving up to the top jungle, and he's starting his wolves. It looks like it's going to be a level 3 clear for Xin Zhao. He wants to get his level 3. He's going to go wolves, blue buff to scuttle, and then he's probably going to be looking for a gank in the top lane just because of that matchup before the Camille can really get away. And meanwhile, the Graves, as I said, is going for that full clear. He's gone from his Gromp to the Scuttle. He's going to go back to Wolves, and then he's going to move to his topside jungle.
Yeah, it's going to be something that we're going to need to keep an eye on in this early phases of the game here. But I don't think either of these junglers are really going to look to try to pressure too much in the mid lane. Yes, you do have an assassin into a mobile mage matchup.
Meanwhile, in the top lane... Oof. Sorry, I thought you were going to take over from there.
No, I'm dealing with the glorious spectator client issues right now, so...
Oh. Sorry. Well, we
fine.
see flashes going off in the mid lane. The Akali gets caught by the Lux snare, and Clovers picks up a kill. Easy peasy. Both summoners burned on the mid lane. Meanwhile, Admiral Avery coming in, picking up the Lux. No, she's going to get away, landing that snare and getting her shields off. Admiral Avery is just going to scurry back into the jungle. We are going back to farming up the map here. We're seeing a lot of pressure being put on the bottom lane. The Varus is just shoving in wave after wave. The Ezreal had to back there. Just getting poked. No, he backed for the early tier. He went for the tier rush.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. Okay, sorry.
No.
Yeah, Ezreal wanting the early tier is pretty straightforward. I actually just noticed he didn't actually buy anything in base. But getting that tier as early as possible is definitely where you want to be. It allows you to hit your scaling as much faster. Because you really want to get your minimum completed as soon as possible, because the sooner you get that, the sooner you get to your 2 item spike, the sooner you get your 2 item spike, the more effective you get to be as a champion here.
Oof. Oh, am I the play-by-play now?
No, yeah, the spiking is gonna get land. We're gonna see the burst coming down onto X-Spawn. Twilight Shroud does give him a little bit of space here. We do have Avery rotating over. Is gonna force the flash out of hot office in the end, eventually, people. But nobody's dead, other than that early aggression coming in. Yeah, I'm caught up now. It's just the first like 3 minutes of the game I was going by 30 seconds at a time. But I think we're good now. I think we're good. I think I finally got through. Yes, we do have the flash stun. Nice cancel coming in from Aerolite to immediately get that stun. Nice play coming out from him in the top lane, equalizing the kill score 1-1.
Ugh. Oh, there's that counterplay that you were talking about before the game had started. Oh,
but we have Avery coming in into the Cholovers has no summoner spells. The return play coming in as Avery gets another play, immediately going from the top to mid. This is that level of pressure that I talked about early on. Oh, but more trading down in the bottom lane. Ignite going down on the step. Nice use of the Black Shield. Didn't negate the concussive blows coming in, which did keep his 80 carry alive. But it's still a summoner used for no summoners in trade, and I'd have to favor the side of BDSM on that.
well, it looks like the junglers are beginning to set up bottom side control. They're going to be looking for this Infernal Drake that spawned in the game. It's going to be a huge damage boost, and Xin Zhao, who's already getting the ball rolling, really wants that.
Avery's back down to the bottom lane, forcing the flash out of office. Concussibles is going to proc. Hot office does shove his face down in the bottom lane, but that's a flash out of a Morgana who is relatively safe, but if she uses that Black Shield on itself, that leaves Cuck out to dry.
So as we're seeing,
more trades up in that top lane. It's the Tiamat power spike that really kind of sets the pace in this lane, as Examon is doing a lot of burst damage, still gets the kill with that 5-point strike. Excellent play coming out of him in the mid lane.
so much action.
Yeah, you just don't get to talk apparently. After
I know, right?
After you got to talk the first 5 minutes by yourself, it's just like, okay, guys, we're not gonna let the color cast anymore. Say anything anymore. We're just gonna fight.
Too much action. Too much action.
Ooh,
but we are seeing.
Aerolite pressuring Hot Office out of his own jungle, using that early Tiamat spike to great effect, as that's just going to be a dead Braum. I think he underestimated Astrocuck's burst or the fact that he was level 6. I mean, he barely had enough mana for everything. But I still feel like that was a misplay on the bottom lane with BDSM.
Nah, it was a great play coming out of DOV. The timing for crossing those CCs, there was almost no wasted time there, and they managed to just pin that Braum for so long. And we are seeing the different strategies playing out between the Graves and the Xin Zhao, as mentioned before. The Graves is heavy farm. He's got 59 CS, all of that pretty much jungle farm. And the Xin Zhao is just lagging behind, hoping to keep pace with the kills and the pressure on the lanes.
Ooh, that was a nice use of the Hextech ultimatum. We should have collateral damage. Oh, that leap strike was so good! Aerolite, you are a monster. Oh, Avery is going in on the Terra Fox. Is not actually going to be able to get the second part of the hook shot to get away. Avery trying to go in onto offense to get the counter strike into the dash. Gets another kill. Avery dominating on the Xin Zhao.
Xin Zhao finished his warrior. That's cooldown reduction and a lot of damage. It's tons of damage. You don't want to be flexing on a Xin Zhao before you finish your jungle item when he's got his.
Yeah, it's something like a BF sword's worth of 80 difference between just having the call fields and having the completed warrior. It's absolutely disgusting, the damage difference you get. And this is what I said early in the champion select, that this is Avery's signature champion. I have never seen him struggle in early phases of the game on this champion, and I really have to put a lot of pressure on the side of DOV to deal with the amount of pressure, because it's 5 minutes in. The Xin Zhao is currently up almost 1,000 gold over your Graves, who does outscale the Xin Zhao. But unless you can rope in some tempo advantage, I don't know if you can get to that scaling point.
Well, the Xin Zhao is flexing in the enemy jungle. He's putting in some deep vision.
Ooh, but we do have a tower dive up in the top lane. Terrafox does not have the ultimatum back up. That should be his death, with Avery securing his 4th kill of the game. Vine does land onto the Ezreal Ignite coming in, followed by the Chains of Corruption. He just gets bursted down. That's going to be a double kill in the bottom lane, one for both Astro and Office.
Which, despite the the action going on in the bottom lane, there was a fight in the Dragon Pit. The Graves had started the Dragon in response to the Xin Zhao being in the top lane, but Akali had shown up and just murdered him in the Dragon Pit. Not even letting them take one bit of pressure off of the map. They're not giving them any inches, and this is a game of inches.
Yeah, and especially considering we did see that first tower falling in the favor of BDSM, you have to be very concerned, because they're winning the bot lane 2v2, but they haven't been able to turn it into any objectives at this point. And to be perfectly honest, if you rotate down the Jax and if you rotate down Airlight and Avery, I don't think you win that fight if you're DOV.
But on the plus side, though, the Varus is getting handedly ahead. He's 2-0 with about a 10 CS lead. Going to be even more after clearing this wave on that Ezreal. He's going to be bringing a lot of damage really quickly. And we do see him going for this red Drake. We're not going to see a very strong response from the side of DOV. The Graves is showing up in the bottom lane. And potential fight?
Yeah, they are posturing around this Drake and in the bottom lane, but nothing does happen. Trolovers is caught out by Aerolite. Can they secure the kill? No, they are not. Trolovers is going to get the flash over that roll, but that Lux is a mighty juicy target X-Mon, and we already know he has the burst to secure the kill.
This is the difference between high mobility and low mobility champions. They have to be a lot more careful with their positioning. Otherwise, they get punished really hard.
Oh, but Hexamon getting engaged on by Terra goes in with the Hextech Ultimate. The Twilight Shout is going to buy a fair bit of time for Hexamon. Just dashing around is actually going to get the 1-for-1 kill with that R2. The outplay coming in. That was just a bit outside, and unfortunately, Chillovers, I'm sorry, you are going back to the gray screen, as that's another kill for the side of BDSM.
Back to the drawing board. Well, that is a huge advantage now for the side of BDSM. They could translate this into a very easy Rift Herald, possibly use that to bring down to the bottom lane, bring some pressure back for the side of Ezreal, or they could just bring it to the top lane, go with Xin Zhao and Jax all up in the top lane, force that inhibitor possibly. There's a lot of options open to them, but it looks like they're just going for the reset while Xin Zhao is just stealing the top jungle from Graves, taking a bit of that farm pressure, that map pressure that Graves brings to the table. He's actually almost evened out in CS, and he does go for the Rift Herald. He's doing it solo instead of taking any sort of help. Kind of a risky play.
I mean, once you have your full jungle item, like, you can solo the Rift Herald relatively easily as long as you dodge properly on
that's not the problem.
Yeah.
And it is blind as well, so nobody sees this happening, so it's going to happen.
Oh, Airlight is going to get engaged on with the hook shot, does pop the Grandmaster Smite, is going to buy him a disengage here without that ultimate available. I kind of question Hot Office's choice to go up to that top lane without that crucial ultimate available.
Well, Hot Office is being pushed to a wall here by the Xin Zhao. He's getting his jungle stolen from him. He's unable to do the sort of ganks that Xin Zhao is able to do because he just brings no CC, only damage. So he should be looking more for ganks in the mid or bottom lane where his laners have a lot of CC and he can just bring the damage. And that's sort of what he should be looking for, those proactive plays in the mid and bottom lane.
I feel like he just needs to sit bottom lane. Like, his 2v2's already winning down here. It's your only winning lane currently on the map. I feel like your best chance of winning if your DOV is trying to snowball this Varus out of control, because he's going to have enough damage, and you have the Morgana Black Shield, you have the Lux Shield as well, so you have plenty of peel to keep the Varus alive. You just got to invest your resources, as it looks like he is rotating down, trying to force down this tier 2, but we do have a collapse coming in from Avery. TP is available on Arrowlight.
Xin Zhao rotating in, Arrowlight is here.
Yeah, we do have a massive initiation down in the bottom lane. They're already taking out the Jax on the side of BDSM. There's so much damage coming in. Rift Herald accidentally getting dropped by Avery as he is going to fall, but Axamon goes deep, getting the kill onto Hot Office, trying to buy some more time. Astrocook almost burning down, is gonna survive barely to the ignite, but Axamon is in the hunt, trying to get into range, does not have the flash available, is gonna use the ignite though, is gonna secure the kill, does have the Twilight Shroud back available. Rift Herald finishing off the tower on the back side of that. They should actually, no, the Rift Herald actually died, so they didn't even get the tower out of that. In the end, they traded up 3 for 1 in terms of kills. So overall, a good
3 for 2. They got the Jax and the Xin.
Oh yeah, I forgot Arrowlight died at the very start. My mistake. Yeah. I'm boosted. It's okay. I accept it.
Initially, that was a really good fight for DOV. Arrowlight had engaged way too early. The Xin Zhao was not in position to really follow up, and the Braum was his only backup there. But eventually the Akali and the Xin Zhao came in, just bringing a lot of damage. The Ezreal started throwing out Qs from afar, and somehow Shelly got summoned in the middle of all that without getting stopped. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how it didn't get stopped, but my assumption is Avery tried to ward the bush, but forgot he had Rift Herald.
I mean, technically, the only way they could stop it without killing the Xin Zhao is with a Camille E, as all the other CC is just snares, and that doesn't stop channels.
Yeah, so, I mean, overall, it's still a win for the side of BDSM. They do get a crucial shutdown, though, onto Astro Cuck, which I feel like is the biggest advantage out of that. They do trade back, though, with the shutdown going on to Avery, but I still feel like you're sitting in a pretty nice and pretty spot here. Your Ezreal's slowly scaling up, and that's just going to be a dead AD carry. I'm sorry.
That is a huge advantage for the side of BDSM now. Now they just get to run free in this jungle. They're going to get to take that dragon for free. Jax is pushing up top lane. He's going to get to take a tower for free. Losing your highest damage dealer at this stage in the game, especially when every other lane is so far behind, is just a huge blow, and BDSM capitalizing on that by setting up that bush gank.
I mean, that was just a bad choice of pathing coming in from Astercook. His only vision anywhere near that area is the one in the side river bush. That's literally his only ward in that whole area, and he chooses to path through that pathway. So a little bit of a mistake coming in, comes back to cost them as they lose their second Infernal. That's double Infernal now completed. It's going to be the mid-tier 1 falling here momentarily. Top tier 2 is essentially dead. It's a 2-level lead for Airlight, who's just absolutely dominating up in this top lane. You have Baron spawning here in about 10 seconds. It's all sunshine and roses right now if you're BDSM.
Yeah, and we're also seeing not only the power pressure out of just out farming and out killing the opponents, but we also see just the sheer number of wards on the map for BDSM versus DOV. Like, they've got pink wards, they've got blue trinkets.
Yeah, they just have complete and utter map control right now. Avery rotating up, putting a little bit of pressure onto Terra, making sure they can secure that top lane tier 2. Ooh, but we could see a little bit of a collapse. Slow and ultimatum is going to go in onto Avery, but Airlight is here, gets a massive 3-man counter-strike, but they are both going to end up falling, but they do lose Hot Office, but a double kill over to Terra is a pretty good consolation prize, even though you still lost your tower.
That was a good rotation over by the Morgana, catching those two off guard. The Camille and the Graves hanging around, forcing them to try and do something. But just the Morgana rotating up, catching them off guard from the side was really good by DOV. They need these kinds of picks if they're going to find their way back into this game, just because of the sheer mobility and their ability to just poke out their opponents from a range and then hard engage later on. And the split push coming out from Auralite is almost too much for the Camille to handle alone as well. So it looks like they're
I mean, I don't think Terra can actually honestly do anything. He does complete that Triforce, which does give him a little bit of tower killing, but I feel it's a straight duel. I just feel like he loses.
Oh, no doubt. Jax is gone to a foregone conclusion in that he's going to be able to 1v1 anybody on the enemy team at this point. Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
AD carry 2018 feels good.
Don't you mean like 80 carry for like the feels bad for like this entire season?
Pretty much.
Like at the start of the season, they couldn't do anything, and then it was feed everything into your 80 carries, and then 80 carries were happy again, and then 80 carries got nerfed into Oblivion, and then it's like, we can't play 80 carries anymore. We're playing awesome dude bot lanes, and Mage's bot lane now.
So it looks like BDSM, Admiral Avery in particular, is really camping this bush, looking for someone to just walk too close and get a pick. But I'm really hoping for them to just let the Jax be in the bottom lane and start forcing a Baron play or just moving to the top and getting that top inhibitor. It looks like the Akali's already doing that, and they're rotating the Lux over for it.
Yeah, they're just 3-1, which is a composition's pretty much unstoppable at doing because nobody can duel Airlight, nobody can duel Exomon. And your 3-man squad's incredibly safe in the mid lane, as we're just going to see Chilvers who tried to wave clear, and unfortunately he gets dove under tower. Avery forcing out the kill. We have Hot Office trying to rotate up, trying to defend this tower, but just don't think he's going to be able to do so. Yeah, and then Ashercut is able to get the flash up this time. Is going to be able to get away barely with the heal. We had the top lane inhibitor fall, and they're still actually pushing in onto the Nexus towers, taking one Nexus tower. They have more rotation coming in. We do have the Hextech ultimate coming in onto Avery, who is eating a lot of damage, but Axamon going in with the Ignite and the 5-point strike, able to get the kill on the back side there, but it's a 4v2, and I think they just need to look for a disengage. But no, Exmon going back in. I feel like that was a little bit optimistic there. Immediately gets binded, is gonna eventually die.
No fear.
Yeah, he's just like, dude, guys, I'm sorry. I've got the big cojones this game, so I'm just gonna go in. I don't really care what's gonna happen.
I've got brass balls, and they need polishing.
So can y'all get on that for the guy, please? Just because we don't want to piss him off because he's playing an assassin, man. He's 8-2, has most of a death cap completed on top.
8-2, 176 CS. That's almost a 40 CS lead on his opponent. He's also got two fire drakes under his belt. He's bringing out a lot of damage.
Yeah, you really don't want to be on the same screen as pretty much any of the damage dealers on the side of BDSM right now. Like, I feel like the Ezreal's like your best option on their team to be on the same screen on, because everyone else is just doing metric tons of damage. You're going to see another Drake going over. We have about 11,000 gold lead in the favor of BDSM here at about 26 minutes. And to be honest, I don't even know if they actually need to do the Baron.
Well, to be fair, though, DOV isn't exactly out of this game yet. They still have a very strong team fight. They're getting pushed in from these split pushes, these 1-3-1s, forcing some of their team members away from the main group. If they manage to get a 5v5, their lockdown is strong enough that we might see a fight go in favor of DOV. We might actually see them bring this game back from the jaws of defeat. But the problem is that BDSM isn't allowing that. They're forcing these split pushes. They're forcing them to take these paths that are slightly dangerous to go answer the split pushes, while Admiral Avery is waiting on the side for them to take that path. As we saw, even just pathing inside your base, Avery just flashed over the wall. He didn't care and jumped that Lux earlier when she was rotating to the top lane.
Examon going in under the tower, eats massive bursts coming in from Cholovers, does end up flying with the kill going over to Office, but the Baron is being hot. Office is here, but he's going in way too early. Unfortunately, Vision confirmed to be too OP as Hot Office gets sent immediately back to the graves. This is going to be a Baron going over to BDSM.
If you noticed, they actually slowed down taking that Baron. They had vision of the graves. They knew he was over there. They knew he didn't have vision of them. They slowed down on taking the Baron and allowed him to do his mental math and improperly calculate because he didn't factor in that they were going to slow down because he didn't have vision. And so when he hopped over the wall, there was still 4,000 HP on that Baron when he would have thought there was only about 1,300 HP on that Baron. And so they get a free kill on the Graves, and now they're free to just push down this mid and potentially end the game.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they can end the game. Exelon he is not here though, so it is a 5v4 in the favor of DOV. So we could just see them back off and look to finish off this bottom lane inhibitor and play it safe. I think that's the proper call. You have waves shoving in. You have 2 waves of supers coming in on the wave after this one, I believe. So it's really no need to hurry if you're BDSM in this game. Take it slow, close it out. There's no need to rush your way through it. But as you said, DOV does have a lot of damage in these teamfight scenarios if they can get things to execute. But I don't know if they have the gold that they need at this point in order to execute said teamfight. Oh, but we are going to have an engage under the tower. Exelon going massively deep. Just does not care going into the six of the Zanyas. Nice final spark connects onto everyone, but there is just way too much damage on the side of BDSM as both Astro Cuck and Terra Fox are going to fall. That should be the inhibitor flaw. They're just adding their KDA stats here as the plus 50 gold is going to go over to Step, as the win goes over to BDSM, taking game number 1 in 29 minutes.
A dominating performance by BDSM. They got the flow of the game early on, and they just did not let it go. They just kept crushing their hand slower and slower around DOV's heart.
Yeah, it just... like, the early game, the difference in this game was just the difference between the execution coming out of Avery in terms of early game pressure versus what we were seeing coming out of Hot Office, and the amount of ganks he was able to get off in the early game was able to set his team up for success. And I feel like that was the biggest difference in the game.
That's the difference between the two win conditions. Avery was able to get so much pressure off of those early ganks that he actually managed to force Office's Hot Office win condition out of his own hands by being able to invade the jungle, take over. The Jax helping out with the invades, getting vision down. Examon roaming about, stopping the early dragon from the graves when Avery was up in the top lane. Like, it was a team effort. It was not just all on the shoulders of Avery, though he did show a very good way of jungling.
Yes, he did put out a lot of pressure early on into that game. However, no game is a one-man team showing, despite how we may hype it up here on the cast. I do have to ask, who was your game MVP for this game before we head into a break before game number 2?
Well, despite what I said early on, I do have to give game MVP over to Admiral Avery. Avery just showed so much pressure in the early game, setting up his lanes in the top and the mid for winning. And he really just focused there. He realized that was all he really needed to focus on, and he set up just shutting down the enemy jungle. He just brought so much, everything he wanted to do, he was doing. And no answer was really brought against him, so he just ran away with the game.
And with that, we are going to head into a short intermission here before we are back with our second game of the match. Teams will be swapping sides for game number 2. We'll see if DOV eSports is going to be able to take this to game number 3, or if match point favoring BDSM is going to come to fruition in our second game. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. In the mid lane, yes, you do have an assassin into a multiple age matchup.
Meanwhile, in the top lane,
in the mid lane, yes, you do have an assassin into a multiple age matchup.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, oof. Sorry, I thought you were going to take over from there.
No, I'm dealing with the glorious spectator client issues right now, so.
Oh, sorry.
Well, fine. Shield on itself, that leaves Cuck out to dry.
So as we're seeing,
Oh, more trades up in that top lane. It's the Tiamat power spike that really kind of sets the pace in this lane as Examon is doing a lot of burst damage, still gets the kill with that 5-point strike. Excellent play coming out of him in the mid lane. Ooh, that was a nice use of the Hextech ultimatum. We should have collateral damage. Oh, that leap strike was so good. Airlight, you are a monster. Oh, Avery is going in on the Terra Fox. Is not actually going to be able to get the second part of the hook shot to get away. Avery trying to go in onto offense to get the...
Now is flexing in the enemy jungle. He's putting in some deep vision.
Ooh, but we do have a tower dive up in the top lane. Terrafox does not have the ultimatum back up. That should be his death with Avery securing his 4th kill of the game. Vine does land onto the Ezreal Ignite coming in, followed by the Chains of Corruption. He just gets bursted down. That's going to be a double kill in the bottom lane. One for both Astro and Offense. Examon getting engaged on by Terra, goes in with the Hextech ultimate. The Twilight Shout is going to buy a fair bit of time for Examon. Just dashing around, is actually going to get the 1-for-1 kill with that R2. The outplay coming in. That was just a bit outside, and unfortunately, Chillovers, I'm sorry, you are going back to the gray screen, as that's another kill for the side of BDSM. Scenarios if they can get things to execute, but I don't know if they have the gold that they need at this point in order to execute said team. Oh, but we are going to have an engage under the tower. Examon going massively deep, just does not care going into the system of the Zhonya's. Nice final score, connects onto everyone, but there is just way too much damage on the side of BDSM as both Astro Cup and Terra Fox are going to fall.
Somewhere by the emerald sea, where the moon and water meet, somewhere close to harmony, when the world is sound asleep. Something's gonna bring the change, journeys we are meant to take, something at the edge of space, calling us to fly away. Don't you be afraid, everything will change. You and I, jumping off the edge. They say dreamers never die. So come and fly, come and fly, come and fly away with me. We're rising, we're falling, we're making through. We're climbing, we're soaring, 1,000 views. Something's gonna bring the change, journeys we are meant to take, something at the edge of space, calling us to fly away.
No, I'm
Summer in the hills, those hazy days I do remember. We were running still, had the whole world at our feet, watching seasons change. Our roads were lined with adventure, mountains in the way couldn't keep us from the sea. Here we stand open arms. This is home where we are, ever strong in the world that we made. I still hear you in the breeze, see your shadows in the trees, holding on memories.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, once again for the Overdrive League Platinum Division quarterfinals with DOV eSports taking on BDSM. DOV elected to stay on the red side for game number 2, despite dropping the first game over to BSM, with them being over on the blue side. And so far, no changes in bans coming in from BDSM.
Oh,
well, for BDSM.
Sorry. Jump the gun.
Oh. Yeah, you know, we like doing that here as casters because, you know, we have to stay on our toes somehow here. And there's that Zen Zhao, but the Lee Sin, which they did ban in the last game, is up and available for Avery, but they're actually going with the solo queue, Dream or Nightmare, depending on your perspective.
Always a nightmare. Always a nightmare. Yasuo, please. Always a nightmare. If he's on the enemy team, he's a god. If he's on your team, he's a nightmare. He's always a nightmare.
Yes, I would agree with you on that point. As a support player myself, we're going to see the Kaisa being picked up here for Astro Cook. I feel like this is much more in his wheelhouse. I feel like they should look to prioritize an aggressive support to try to snowball their bot lane harder, because they already showed they can win that 2v2 matchup.
So they're certainly picking their bans more carefully on the side of DOV. The Akali and the Xin Zhao being banned out. Feels bad, man.
And homie Zyra is up. It was banned in the last round as well. That was the other ban that came through with the changes, and they're going to go ahead and pick that up. That gives them a very, very powerful 2v2 matchup, assuming that's a bot lane Zyra. Like, I've seen stranger things happen.
She used to be a mid lane once upon a time.
At one point, anyway.
Designed for mid lane once upon a time.
I think the number of times Zyra mid has been actually meta, I can count on one hand. The number of times Zyra support, on the other hand, has been meta, I would need at least 2 hands and possibly my foot.
But now we're seeing a classic counter coming out for the Sejuani. We see a Trundle being picked up, either top lane or jungle. He can be flex, but he's probably in the jungle, let's be real. And the Sejuani, they're looking for that pressure that they were lacking early on. Instead of going for that farm pressure, that camp objective pressure, they're going more for the ganking pressure now. We're seeing a change in strategy coming out of the side of DOV.
I mean, I still don't feel like Sejuani's like the best early gank option, though. I still feel like there are better options they can go if they want that early gank pressure. So far, we're seeing a little bit of a focus in the top lane, with Jackson Mundo being taken off the table, as well as the Fiora. I mean, I don't know where they're going to go here. I don't know if they're going to look to blind pick their mid here. They did swap in their other mid laner for this game. I should mention that for DOV. Chillovers is out this game. They're subbing in Yoki in their mid lane, who's they're much more prominent in terms of skill in the mid lane, and they are going to blind pick the Poppy up for Terra.
Well, it might not be a blind pick. The Yasuo can be flexed to either top lane, mid lane, or AD carry, and it's very possible that the Yasuo is either mid or top. I want to guess that he's in the top lane, and going up against Poppy, Poppy has the ability to just shut down his mobility with her circle, right?
Yeah, the Steadfast Presence is a prominent tool against the Yasuo, but I still have to say the Yasuo is more than likely going to the mid lane, just because I feel like putting yourself into that matchup. The Maokai is a okay matchup into the Poppy. You do have shelf potential into the Poppy, and you do a lot of poke damage with the smash, with the sapling, but The issue is Poppy's going to get to a point where she can beat the Maokai 1v1 because she does percent health damage.
Yeah. I've always underestimated the amount of damage that a Poppy can dish out. And we're seeing Swain being picked up, going for the mid lane, moving Vel'Koz down to support. And we have seen both of those being flexed to either or multiple times, actually. Not by this team in particular, but over the course. So it's become the Void in the bottom lane versus Draven Zyra. Who do you give the advantage to in that matchup? Both are packing a lot of damage.
It is entirely dependent upon who can get wave priority. Because if Draven and Zyra can control the pace of the lane, it becomes incredibly difficult for Kai'Sa to be able to follow up on any of the poke Office can pull out on the Vel'Koz. However, if Office and Astrocook are able to get lane advantage from the Draven, it becomes extremely hard for him to be able to execute anything in terms of trying to get those early cash-ins. However, if they are pushing, both their champions are extremely vulnerable to Trundle Pillar because they have no actual dashes.
Well,
they have the flash.
Has a dash. She dashes into her opponent.
But that's not till level 6.
It's close enough.
Sure. That's what you want to tell yourself anyway. Just like that time you smited the Baron and it lived with 10 HP. That was close enough, right?
Yeah. Ugh, we don't talk about that. Missed too many smites at that. So going into this game, I do want to give advantage over to the side of BDSM this game. We see the Maokai, he's very strong at controlling team fights just with the amount of CC he brings, the ability to stick onto people. The Trundle has pseudo-initiation, very strong disengage, and being able to sap all the stats from the Sejuani if she has her passive up. She might be running Aftershock. If she's running Aftershock, that'll be more stats for him to take away. If he manages to get her with Aftershock proc and her passive still up, she's going into the negatives and she will just explode. Yasuo has quite a few options to chain his ultimate off of. The Maokai, his Q, the Trundle Pillar, the Draven, throwing out his axes, knocking people to the side, and the Zyra ultimate, though mainly used for counter engage, can still be something that Yasuo goes off of as well. And just their overall ability to pick people out from various ranges and really throw down the damage. The only weakness they sort of have is their ability to siege. Their only sort of range siege options are the Maokai saplings, the Zyra throwing out a few things, and just Draven throwing out his auto attacks. Other than that, they don't have a huge amount of sieging. The Zyra alone is pretty much all of their siege damage. Meanwhile, on the side of DOV, you have the Poppy, which can really put the Yasuo in a bad spot if he dashes in wrong. The Sejuani has very strong initiation, very strong counter initiation, being able to peel, being able to just be a nuisance all around. If she manages to time her Aftershock, if she's running it properly, to where Trundle uses his ultimate before she Aftershocks, then she might be able to get enough free stats that she's able to live the burst regardless of being siphoned off. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, you have essentially 4 carries running around there. You have Draven, Zyra, Kai'Sa, Vel'Koz. They're all carries, very few supporting abilities coming out from there. Whoever gets the flow is going to be running away with it. And in the mid lane, you have Swain versus Yasuo. I don't know would imagine that a Yasuo brings a lot to the table versus a Swain, just because Swain is pretty much everything ranged, and Yasuo can block that with a wind wall on his all-in. But we've seen Swain pull out some incredible damage and outplay before, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I mean, the thing about Eddie Yasuo is dependent upon how he can execute on the champion. Like, you can talk up about how it's an advantageous matchup, disadvantageous matchup. It's entirely dependent upon the Yasuo to play it, because he can turn pretty much any lane into a skill matchup and a farm lane if he so chooses, or he can rotate it into a kill lane. The biggest thing that I have my eye on in this game is how the side of BDSM is gonna play around the Vel'Koz ultimate, because they actually don't have too many interrupts for it. Like, they have Trundle Pillar, they have Zara, and Maokai and Yasuo native. Like, they don't have a ton of options that are guaranteed to stop that Vel'Koz ultimate, other than a Trundle Pillar. I feel like that's their best option to stop that, because
that is a very strong option, though. It's sort of a point and click almost.
Yeah, but he does have to be in range. He needs to make sure he has it off of cooldown. Like,
Cooldown is the biggest gate. It's like a 16, 18 second cooldown.
To be honest, in my opinion, on Trundle Jungle, you should max Pillar second. But I'm not a jungler, so I can't say one way or the other on that. I just feel like having the early points into Pillar just make it a lot more effective. But I feel like this early game is going to be relatively slow. I don't feel like either of these junglers are really going to go for too many early plays.
Yeah, the Sejuani Trundle is an interesting matchup, actually, when it comes to the early game. The Trundle can fight the Sejuani, although it's difficult because of her armor boost in the early game, lasting for quite a bit. If they fight each other level 2 to 3, the Sejuani actually has a very strong chance of beating the Trundle out. But once the Trundle hits that level 6, the Sejuani is really no longer able to deal with the Trundle. And we're seeing similar paths coming out again, where Hot Office.
Oh, we have a game coming in off on the top lane. Unfortunately, the Twisted Advantage does follow up the heroic charge. Almost got the one.
Well, that was a very risk-reward gank coming out from the Trundle there. Maokai making it possible with stuff happening in the mid lane. Did I get disconnected?
Hey guys, so since we're having so many issues with Discord casting and stuff right now, or connection right now, because I'm noticing it just like you guys, I'll figure I'll go ahead and jump in and help out and do some play-by-play and fill in a little bit. That way there's a consistent voice on stream that's not going to disconnect here in the middle of the game. Sound good?
Alright.
So, I mean, you guys were just kind of talking about, well, shit, honestly, I wasn't paying attention to what you guys were talking about. So fill me in, what team comp do you think fits a little better? Like, which team comp would you want to be playing on?
I think the team comp that has the advantage here is BDSM's team comp. They have a lot of very powerful CC controlling the...
Well, I mean, sorry, you're not going to get to talk about it much, because in bot lane, Sejuani has other plans. Pick up one kill here on the Zyra, and Draven actually chasing because he does have the TP coming through. I don't know how much they're going to be able to do. The forced flash out of Sejuani, and you never really want to chase a Vel'Koz too far, so one kill in favor of DOV. Not too much to see there. Sorry, go ahead, Rudy. What were you saying?
Oh, yeah.
On the team comps?
Yeah, but as I was saying about the team comps, the side of BDSM has a lot of team fight control. They sort of are shoring up their weaknesses that they had from last game, where they focused on a split push comp. Now they have a very strong team fight comp, but it can still function in a split push. They have Trundle, they have Yasuo, both very strong split push champions if they get ahead. And meanwhile, on the side of DOV, we have another strong team fight comp coming out. We're not seeing a whole lot of other answers or flexibility in their strategy, though. They don't have very
Right.
strong split pushers.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When they were going through the draft, the thing I was the most interested in seeing was Steps Draven here. So far, seems to be doing a really good job. He's almost 15 CS up on the Kai'Sa, even though the Kai'Sa does have that BF sword. But again, coming in here on the mid lane, Trundle, nice pillar, and that will secure them a kill onto the Swain. Just before Sejuani was able to come in for the backup there.
Yeah, the Trundle pillar is a very polarizing aspect when people are talking about ganking potential. The Trundle pillar level 1 doesn't have a very strong slow, but the ability to displace people and just put that terrain in between them and their chance of getting out is certainly something that people should not scoff at. It has caused more than a few deaths, and in this mid lane in particular, I think it's caused both of his deaths.
Sorry, I was just sending a message to Primus, making sure he was doing all right. His
no worries.
is actually his Wi-Fi that was going out there, so
Oh,
it's all right. I've got time. I'm here to fill in. We'll be good. So really.
Now, what I'm interested in seeing, right, is Trundle is level 5 here. He just used his smite, but it's going to be coming up again as he had one banked. I'm looking for him to be taking an early Cloud Drake right here.
Well, not before he gets
Trundle
a
is able to-
great gank going in here, and Swain got the knock up off the pillar. I mean, whew, I don't know that I've seen that combo recently. That was sweet.
And that was that Yasuo ultimate combo off of the Trundle pillar I had talked about earlier
Yeah.
on.
Really good.
It's not a huge window of opportunity for a Yasuo to hit that button, but it is there.
It is there, and he nailed it. He was ready for that play, which, I mean, makes you think, you know, that they're obviously playing these champions. They were ready for that play to happen, so it's not like they just went into the draft and was like, yeah, I feel like playing Yasuo today. Yeah, I feel like playing Trundle today. They had some kind of preconceived idea with these two champions together, it seems like. But Sejuani in the bot lane lands an amazing ulti on Homie, and he's going to drop before anybody else can react. Draven now in the 1v3 situation. I don't think he's going to pull anything amazing off here. Drops to the Vel'Koz, actually.
Now that gank was very important for the bottom lane. The Kai'Sa needing to get that gold in order to keep up. The Draven losing stacks from dying there.
Yeah, that's going to be big. Any Draven player knows the stacks, they matter, man.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, you're seeing just the classic wet noodle fight between a Poppy and a Maokai.
Right. Yeah, who's gonna do more damage to the other first and make the other one TP back? Poppy is about to have her TP back up, so even though she's looking low, but ooh. Things on the bush, they knew they were in there. There's a ward, but still they face check it, and Yasuo dies very quick here. Trundle closely following him, and what was the decision process there? Because you saw the vision.
Well, the decision was that the Yasuo was going to throw up a wind wall, block all of their damage, but DOV had it already planned out. They were leaps and bounds ahead of them in that regard. The Vel'Koz laser bypassing the wind wall, the Kai'Sa ulting past the wind wall to get damage out. It didn't matter that they had vision at that point. If they went for them, they were going to get clapped.
Yeah, I wonder if they realized that you cannot, Vel'Koz can ult through the wind wall. I hope that's an interaction they've seen before, because in my mind that was like, oh man, why are you going in there with that? It's so dangerous. But hey, you live and you learn, and hopefully they're going to learn from that gank right there, that they probably shouldn't face check a bush, especially when they already have the vision to it.
Well, the most important thing that actually went into that wasn't even the Vel'Koz ult. The Vel'Koz managed to land his CC on them before the fight really started. It started the fight, right? And that allowed the Kai'Sa to leap across
Okay.
at the beginning. I think she got an auto off, but it was really that CC landing that put up a stack that allowed her to just jump across and bypass the wind wall
I gotcha.
entirely.
Wow, flash forward from Draven. He really wants this kill. Will he land it? Oh man, he does! With a nice little walk up the lane to be able to secure that. That was sweet.
And they get the first tower, and he gets the stacks.
He just gets all the rewards, but Yasuo, none of them, as he dies to the gank here in the mid lane. Really didn't even need the gank. Swain landed that binding, and he was pretty much done for.
Yasuo hoping to get some counterplay there, maybe hoping to kind of lock them down. The Cloud Drake has been started a few times, but it's still sitting there. People just aren't willing to commit to it. It is a Cloud Drake, and that's not usually high on anybody's priority list.
I was
especially
close to
when
talking about the Cloud Drake earlier, but now we got to talk about the Maokai in the top lane. Getting ganked, he does end up going in, trying to get out of some of that CC. He does land an ult under tower, but it's really not going to do too much with how tanky Sejuani is at this point. Maybe if he had saved his W until they got under tower, he might have got something for it, but that was just a hard situation, period.
Well, when you're facing down the barrel of two tanks, do you really have a tower?
That's a great question. I don't know. That's one of those philosophical questions.
Yasuo going in.
Yeah, he does have that nice little stopwatch. We'll keep him alive for the moment. And a great binding once again, landing those claws. And, I mean, this game is really turning in favor of DOV.
Yeah, this is a much more even game we're seeing coming out of DOV to BDSM. They're really answering these ganks, these roams, all the pressure. Losing their bottom tower, they're like, okay, you can have it. We're moving to the mid lane. We're going to try to take that.
Yeah, definitely. And they, well, the Trundle Zyra, they did respond a little bit, so no initial tower in the mid lane yet for DOV, but, I mean, really, when you look at the gold, DOV shows them down about 300, 400, but when you think about the first tower gold that they were able to get early on, that BDSM was able to get early on, that's all the gold and then some right there.
Yeah. And it's really impressive to see DOV keeping even this game in the value of gold. You know, they lost first tower. Draven managed to get some stacks off. The kills are only a 3-kill difference, and just having it stay even is
Sorry,
very
Examon wants to fight here in the mid lane, so we got to talk about it a little bit. He's getting ganked from all sides as Sejuani comes in, but really, the ganks don't matter. Swain 1v1s him. What's up, dude?
So you remember how I was talking earlier about I think Yasuo can beat a Swain in all-in?
I mean, don't get me wrong, the ganks did matter. Sorry, Examon. You know, the pressure of the Sejuani coming in, the Vel'Koz coming in, does change the 1v1 aspect. I understand that. I'm just saying, Swain, he's doing work right now in that mid lane. It's gonna net them not only one kill, but this dragon.
Draven gonna be looking to try and steal it.
Yeah, I mean, not the worst attempt we've seen.
But Trundle's gonna be answering it with a Rift Herald try.
Now, which is more important to you?
Coming out from DOV, they think that he's on it, and so they're beginning to motion
It
up.
would be correct. Are they gonna go all the way up though? They're taking their sweet time. Poppy coming in. Oh, she does get Maokai out, so now it's just Avery versus the Rift Herald versus two people out of DOV, and he's gonna drop down as Maokai finally walks his way back in, and that's a free Rift Herald for DOV.
Now this is a huge swing in favor of DOV. They managed to get a Cloud Drake, making their rotations faster, easier. They managed to snag the Rift Herald from BDSM for free, and they managed to get a kill out of it as well. Like, they're going to be able to transfer this into a lot more map pressure. They can put this Rift Herald in the bottom lane, try to force 1, 2 maybe even 3 turrets. It's very rare to see Shelly get to 3 towers, but it has happened before.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the moment that you play it. You know, it can be used in so many different ways. It'll be interesting to see how they decide to utilize that Rift Herald in this matchup. What's your favorite way to use Rift Herald?
My favorite way to what?
Use Rift Herald. Yeah, I mean, because have you ever seen those people use it as like a distraction? You know what I'm talking about? Where they like randomly throw it in the top lane?
I know exactly what you're talking about. But my favorite way to use Rift Herald is actually to just force down 2 towers, either top, mid, or bottom. I don't use it initially because I like to have that buff for backing for about 2 minutes.
Okay, gotcha. Definitely, that definitely helps out. But we might see here in the mid lane, we're kind of seeing the teams finally group up for the first time in the game. We've got 4 here from DOV, got the Poppy split pushing with the teleport available. Let's see if anything happens. Surprised Maokai isn't going towards the top lane. He does have his TP to be able to contest that split.
And we are seeing Rift Herald being popped here.
Yep, there it is. Yasuo did make his way down to the bot lane, though. Maokai starts to walk towards top lane. As soon as the Rift Herald pops, he kind of turned around for a second, and looks like he is coming back. Now here comes
I'll let this fight
well.
play out, but I want to talk about this Rift Herald later on.
Maokai, nice route onto multiple people. The Yasuo only lands onto Sejuani here. Now Examon goes down really quick from the damage of Vel'Koz and Swain, and now Admiral Avery stuck on the front line, tanking up as much damage as he can, but he now drops to the Kai'Sa and Vel'Koz combo. And now we've got Draven just kind of caught between all these champions from DOV. Homie is going to get chased down by Office here, support versus support. And that is going to be a full ace for DOV.
Well done, DOV. Now, talking about that Rift Herald, okay, so we saw the Yasuo in the bottom lane. They saw the Yasuo in the bottom lane. The Poppy was pushing down top lane. They saw an opportunity to use Rift Herald as essentially another champion. So the Maokai started to rotate up to the Poppy, but because of Rift Herald, because of how low the mid lane was, people immediately started to move to try and answer this Rift Herald. Rift Herald still got the tower, and a fight ended up breaking out because they just drew all of BDSM to the mid lane. They managed to bring them to a focal point, and Poppy was just free to push down top tower, get good damage onto the next tower. They take not only mid tower, but second tier tower after getting an ace on the enemy team with nobody being sacrificed for their side as well. It's a huge change of pace coming out of the side of DOV.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now they're trying to set it up for game 3, which I'm a little sad about because it's been a long day. I'd like to go to bed, but at the same time, dude, this game is hype. So I wouldn't mind seeing a game 3 between these two teams.
And snagging that Rift Herald also cleared, for the time, one of their biggest problems, which was not really having a real split push. But because of the Rift Herald, they managed to draw the attention, keep Poppy off on the split push. But now that they don't have that anymore, they're going to be having to look for these team fights again that they're just so specialized in, but showing that specializing by acing them 4v5. Is BDSM really going to be able to answer them now? We're going to have to wait and see.
That's a great question. I mean, even if even if this game managed to somehow turn on its head and BDSM managed to come back, that'd still be super exciting. That would be a pretty hype game. I mean, I'm interested to see what BDSM can do with this game. You know, if it does go to game 3, hopefully they at least manage to find some way to put up a fight and get back into this game a little more. Because right now, the biggest thing, like we just saw right there, their team fight just isn't really coming together. If they can maybe get some of these combos a little better, I mean, we saw the Trundle Yasuo situation earlier. In that last team fight, we just didn't see their ultimates hitting the same target. You know, we had the Maokai get a good ult across several people, then the Yasuo came in and it only hit the Sejuani, so, and Yasuo arguably is their best damage right now. Draven, he really wasn't able to do too much at the time of the fight starting, so.
Well, what I want to see after this dragon being taken, I want to really
Here comes
looks
a team
like they're
fight.
going for
So,
a fight here.
I mean, the dragon is picked up by the Sejuani here. He does land a nice two-man. Oh, and Maokai drops really quick, and now there's barely any front line for the side of BDSM, and Yasuo dies before he's able to even use his ultimate. Now, they are completely turned and running, and Homie, the last one alive now. I mean, once again, just not seeing the team fight out of BDSM.
Second ace. That's going to translate into an inhibitor, possibly top tower, possibly Baron.
Yeah.
Probably not Baron because death timers are still really low.
We'll see. I mean,
And it would just be better to reset, put that gold on the map.
True. Yeah. Get the inhib, go base, then go set up the vision, get the bot lane rolling. Still have 2 outer turrets down there. Especially with Poppy, she got TP, so run that and then kind of force the Baron. But they're opting straight for the Baron, and this is a live or die moment for BDSM. We'll see if they can get in here and can contest this Baron.
No fear, going straight for the Baron. The enemy doesn't have any vision of them, but they are moving closer to it.
Yeah, and they burned it
Not
so
in
quick.
time.
I didn't expect them to burn it that quick. That just highlights how far ahead DOV is
They
right
did
now.
have a Mountain Drake.
True, that does
With
help
the
a bit.
percent damage dealt by Vel'Koz, by Kai'Sa, Poppy percent health damage, they managed to burn through it really quickly just because of how much health it has.
True, very good point.
So DOV might group up mid and try to push for an end here. That, in my opinion, would be a mistake. They should be going down to the bottom lane. Really just group up as 5. They've already shown that they can win these team fights easy. I don't think a tower would be much different for them because they have 2 frontliners. Swain is still tanky. They can just dive the tower. It doesn't matter to them anymore. They should just go to the bottom lane where there's 3 towers up, force them down, and while this Baron is still active.
Yeah, I agree. And I like the point that you made about take all 5. I feel like I need to take a step back. When I said Poppy should be split pushing, you know what? I don't think it really works for their team comp. Like you said earlier, I think the Poppy should just go head down and join her team, especially when she gets maybe this last wave. Yeah, you can split push to a moment, but it's not worth sending her top just for that tower top. But anyway, Sejuani wants to start a fight here, and they catch out BDSM in their jungle. Arlight going really low after Yasuo's initial death, and once again, just there's no fight potential out of BDSM. They're always losing somebody too early, or using their ults on the wrong people, or not hitting enough people with them. It's just unfortunate.
Now with that advantage being carved out in the jungle, they've put the Kai'Sa in the mid lane. She's going to be buffing up those minions. They've got 3 people in the bottom lane forcing that down. Still no answer against the Poppy.
Yeah, and it almost looks like BDSM wants to fight here, but now their tower's down, and Avery's going really low with the Kai'Sa on the side. He ults in. He's going to get 1 kill on Avery for sure. Homie actually drops first. I think it was Swain that just picked up the kill there, even though Kai'Sa did do a lot of the damage. A nice root out of Swain here. They are going to get 1 more kill onto the Draven now. Yasuo tries to go in. He tries to do what he can. They are going to pick up 1 kill. But is it going to be enough? I don't think so, because BDSM are looking to close out the game with those baroned up minions. The Poppy split pushing through that entire fight.
Well, that's GG, boys. A dominating display coming out of DOV after getting just a little bit ahead. They managed to compound that. It's like they put it in the bank on a high interest saving loan account. Just going for it.
I love it, dude. Great A comparison. Oh man. So real quick, because we are gonna go into game 3, so we want to get into this quick. Let's just talk. What does BDSM need to do different from this game? What do they need to change?
So BDSM has shown that they are forming very well-rounded team comps, but the problem is that they're getting forced out by this specialized team comp. Last game, they managed to stop them from achieving their win condition by just forcing plays, forcing aggression, forcing what they needed to get done by a few of their champions. But this game, it was on the opposite foot. They were unable to stop their win condition from this highly specialized team comp that DOV was putting forth. And their well-rounded comp, despite having the potential to split push, despite having decent to great team fight, they just weren't able to translate that into anything more. And so what it comes down to is they're going to have to find a way to really pull back what they had in the first game and bring that aggression, bring it so that they can not only put forth their win condition, but stop the specialized team that DOV is putting out, stopping them from achieving their win condition.
Absolutely. So the key points there, hopefully they can find a way to tie back into that aggression and that quality team play that they had in the first game of the series. We're going to take a quick intermission here, and we'll be back at you with Game 3 shortly.
Sejuani actually has a very strong chance of beating the Trundle out, but once the Trundle hits that level 6, the Sejuani is really no longer able to deal with the Trundle. And we're seeing similar paths coming out again, where Hot Office.
We have a game coming in off on the top lane. Unfortunately, the Twisted Advantage does follow up the heroic charge.
Now, what I'm interested in seeing, right, is Trundle is level 5 here. He just used his smite, but it's going to be coming up again as he had one bank. I'm looking for him to be taking an early Cloud Drake right here.
Well, not before he gets a great gank going in here, and Swain got the knock-up off the pillar. I feel like playing Yasuo today. Yeah, I feel like playing Trundle today. They had some kind of preconceived idea with these two champions together, it seems like. But Sejuani in the bot lane lands an amazing ulti on Homie, and he's going to drop before anybody else can react. Draven now in the 1v3 situation. I don't think he's going to pull anything more damage to the other first and make the other one TP back. Poppy is about to have her TP back up, so even though she's looking low, but ooh. Things on the bush, they knew they were in there. There's a ward, but still they face check it, and Yasuo dies very quick here. Trundle close to...
It is a Cloud Drake, and that's not usually high on anybody's priority list.
I was close to talking about the Cloud Drake earlier, but now we got to talk about the Maokai in the top lane. Getting ganked, he does end up going in, trying to get out of some of that CC. He does land an ult under tower, but it's really not going to do too much with how...
I think that he's on it, and so they're beginning to motion up.
Correct. Are they going to go all the way up, though? They're taking their sweet time. Poppy coming in. Oh, she does get Maokai out, so now it's just Avery versus the Rift Herald versus two people out of DOV, and he's going to drop down as Maokai finally walks his way back in, and that's a...
We'll talk about this Rift Herald later on.
Maokai, nice route onto multiple people. The Yasuo only lands onto Sejuani here. Now Examon goes down really quick from the damage of Vel'Koz and Swain, and now Admiral Avery stuck on the front line, tanking up as much damage as he can, but he now drops to the Kai'Sa and Vel'Koz combo. And now we've got Draven just kind of caught between all these champions from DOV. Homie is going to get chased down by Office here.
What I want to see after this dragon being taken, I want to really...
Here comes
looks
the
like
team
they're
fight,
going for a fight here.
I mean, the dragon is picked up by the Sejuani here. He does land a nice two-man ult, and Maokai drops really quick, and now there's barely any front line for the side of BDSM, and Yasuo dies before he's able to even use his ultimate. Now, they are completely turning and running, and Homie, the last one alive side, he ults in. He's going to get one kill on Avery for sure. Homie actually drops first. I think it was Swain that just picked up the kill there, even though Kai'Sa did do a lot of damage. A nice route out of Swain here. They are going to get one more kill onto the Draven now. Yasuo tries to go in. He tries to do what he can. They are going to pick up one kill, but is it going to be enough? I don't think so, because BDSM are looking to close out the game with those baroned up minions. The Poppy split pushing through that entire
And welcome back, everyone. After I did my best impersonation of BDSM's Nexus, doing the disappearing act for that back last game, but I am back once again alongside Ruahi for the final game after DOV managed to pull it back to a 1-1 winner-take-all game number 3 here. That was a rather dominant performance, I would say, from DOV in the last game.
Oh yeah, they were definitely playing to their strengths there. Showing that they could team fight even on a person deficit. They won 4v5, managing to get ace after ace after, well, I think it was just the 2 aces. But you get what I mean.
I mean, that's a pretty good poker hand, and it's a pretty good place to start in terms of winning a game.
Oh, well, you know, they just had to have another ace up their sleeve.
Well, as long as you don't get caught with that ace up your sleeve, everything's going to be okay. So taking a look at the bans, we've got Xin Zhao, Akali, and Fizz once again being banned out by DOV. While on the other side, we had a drastic shift coming in from BDSM, taking away the Vel'Koz and the Swain, which both performed a great effect in the last game for DOV. And then once again, the Brand being banned away, and I think this is the earliest we've seen a mid lane rotation outside of the Yasuo in the last game. Well, I guess not, because Yasuo was first pick, but
yeah, Yasuo
it's Yasuo. We try to forget that game, that Yasuo first pick, but they've got great initiation already on the table with BDSM.
Oh yeah, with the Orianna, the Shockwave going off, and the Rakan also working as a pretty good initiation as well. It's nice to see that they're tailoring their bans for the particular people they're facing, especially since they're facing them over and over and over again now. Just trying to get rid of what they deemed was the worst things to face in each of their games.
And because of the ban phase, that Terra's Alawi does actually get through.
Whew. That's scary.
I mean, she does have counters. And with every Alawi that I ever see, there is one word of wisdom that I distinctly remember. Every laning phase that Alawi has is entirely dependent upon whether or not she can land her E. If she lands her E, she wins. If she misses, she loses. Plain and simple.
Well, it looks like the side of DOV is going for a drastic change in what they're wanting their win condition to be. They've picked up Trundle, which was on the side of BDSM last game, and they have the Alawi. It looks like they're going for a very hard split push team comp. They just want to have pressure all over the map like BDSM had in the first game. And they're sort of foregoing a bit of that team fight pressure that they had in the second game. However, Alawi still brings a lot of damage in team fights. Trundle still has good pseudo initiation, great disengage, and Kaisa brings a lot of damage to the table. So they're going for a semi-rounded, heavy split push team comp. Meanwhile, on the side of BDSM, we're seeing a very strong team fight orientated comp coming out. We have the Orianna, the Rakan, both very strong in their team fight capabilities, especially with Rakan being a very powerful ball carrier. And then you have the Lucian bringing up some damage out of the backline. Just good sustained damage coming out of the Lucian, trying to match the Kaisa on her bursty sustained damage. And then we see the other bans are... BDSM is really focusing on the support bans. They got the Alistar, the Morgana. Meanwhile, on the side of DOV, they have the top bans. They have the Jax, the Darius. They want to secure Alawi being Alawi.
I mean, they do still have to run into the Fiora coming in for Airlight, and that is a decent matchup into the Fiora. You can parry the Test of Spirit, which really inhibits the ability for Alawi to really do anything. We have the Nami and the Talia coming in for DOV. Nami, one of the best lane dominant supports, especially into pseudo melee matchups in the side of their con. And then you have the Talia, heavy roaming mid laner, probably going to be looking to primary going up to Terra's lane, trying to get this Alawi off the ground, because if Alawi gets ahead, there's not too much you can do to stop her.
So we're seeing a good rounding out coming out of DOV here. They have the Talia capable of roaming very quickly, using her ultimate to just jump across the map. If a fight is happening in the bottom lane, she can be there. If it's happening in the top lane, she can be there. And her passive allowing her to just run across the map very quickly if there's a wall nearby. Meanwhile, on the side of BDSM, they seem to be doubling down on their damage. We're not seeing any sort of wall coming out, no form of beefiness really, unless the Fiora builds fighter instead of melee AD carry, and Lee Sin going more fighter instead of assassin, but he might also go bruiser as well. He's still able to bring out a lot of base damage into the game as well. So we might actually see Lee Sin go bruiser or fighter instead of
Hold
the
up,
assassin.
though. We currently have Airlight on the Orianna with teleport, and we have Examon on Fiora with Ignite.
Wait a minute, what? Wait a minute, what?
We could see a potential lane swap here. Or it's going to be Fiora mid into Talia, which I don't think is a great matchup for Fiora.
Was that intentional?
I'm hoping it's intentional, because otherwise, I don't know what else you could call that. But we're going to have to wait and see how things in game shape out. We did see Avery picking up his Lee Sin, which was banned away from him in the very first game. Chose not to pick it in the last game. So we're gonna see he's once again on a early game high impact jungler. We saw what he did on the on the Xin Zhao. The big thing I think is, if this sticks, he really needs to make a massive impact in the early game. Otherwise, I don't know if the shenanigans can work.
Now, the Trundle into Lee Sin matchup is a matchup I know like the back of my hand. I'm a Trundle main, and Lee Sin is one of the most common junglers I have ever fought. That matchup is burned into my brain. What it comes down to is Lee Sin can't straight up fight a Trundle, but if he manages to land a Q, kite out a bit of his cooldowns after a fight, and like if he goes in, lands a Q, kites back, and then goes in again after waiting for a few cooldowns, Lee Sin has the Trundle fight, but Trundle fight is just a stat stick. If Lee Sin does not manage to kite it out, Trundle will just beat him down with his club, and it is very dominating from either side. If one gets ahead, they start to crush the other. Trundle gets ahead, Lee Sin's in pain. Lee Sin's ahead, Trundle is in pain. It is not happy for either one. It is going to be a nail biter between the two.
Okay, here's the question though. I don't know if you've ever encountered this. What's the interaction between Lee Sin taking his Q and Trundle Pillar? Because I feel like in my head, if you can time it right on Trundle Pillar, you should be able to interrupt the Q.
That is exactly what happens. It can interrupt his shield dash and it can interrupt his Q dash, but it is very difficult to time that as the dashes are very fast. Most of the time when you see the pillar block one of those things, it's mostly because they had preemptively predicted when they were going to do it, and it happens very rarely. It's similar to like when a Trundle pillar pins a person against a wall. You didn't plan for it, but it's a nice thing that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just a little something that I thought it was just like, oh, that could be something that could potentially give Trundle an advantage, because if he interrupts the Q, like I don't think Lee Sin can period fight the Trundle. But that will be something we will have to wait and see, as we are getting onto the Rift relatively quickly here for the game point. We have one win for BDSM, one win for DOV. It is winner take all to advance to the ODL Plat Division semifinals next week, and there is quite a lot on the line for both of these two teams. They really want to secure that position in the next round, because that means they're one step closer to that all-important finals.
Now, something to make note of here, right? The Talia is running heal instead of barrier, ignite, teleport. She's running heal. She's wanting to show that she's going to be in these other fights, in these side lane pushes, and whatever it is she's got to do, because she's bringing heal as some to support her team. It's not about just saving herself. She can potentially save her teammates as well in these fights. Meanwhile,
Okay, so the one thing I was going to address is the lane swap. So currently the way things are hovering, it's going to be Examon in the top lane with the Ignite Fiora, and then Aerolite in the mid lane on Oriana. I'm hoping they've practiced this, because trying to pull a lane swap when you haven't had any practice, it's not something easily done.
Now, something to note here, the Lee Sin is starting red buff. He might be looking for a level 2 cheese gank in the top lane, a level 2 cheese gank in the mid lane, or he might just look to straight up invade Trundle's blue buff, but it looks like he's going for the level 2 cheese gank in the top lane. So let's see how that plays out.
Terra has to expect this coming. He pinged it out early. He is going to land the Q. He's doing a lot of damage, but X1 was not into range followed up, so Terra is able to walk it out, and he does have the corrupting pot, so does have a lot of sustain, so it's just a little bit of time wasted by the Lee Sin, and the Trundle's able to take away the Scuttle Crab.
Not only take the Scuttle Crab, but manages to find the Lee Sin. Now, whether or not he goes in for this fight is another matter.
Yeah, we do have a massive trade in the bot lane. Offense being forced extremely low, but the clutch heal from Astro Cup keeps his support alive. But there's that damage coming in from that Lucian Rakan. He didn't spend a lot of time talking about it due to some other shenanigans, but this is a very, very, very powerful kill lane that BDSM have drafted for themselves.
Oh yeah, Rakan able to initiate very strongly. Nami Bubble's a bit harder to land than the Rakan knockup. However, the Nami
does have one thing that Rakan doesn't, which is easy to use healing.
Yes, easy to use healing, and the ability to boost.
Oh, that's just going to be first blood to Examon, just forgetting that Examon actually took the Ignite. Nice parry, is not quite able to get the duel against Hot Girls. Unfortunately, point and click to OP, but it's first blood to the Ignite Fiora. That's honestly got to feel pretty good if you're the side of BDSM.
Yep. Fiora managing to get that first blood. She's actually ahead by almost 400 gold now. Despite being down CS, the Kleptomancy really coming through for Alawi, keeping her up in gold. The gold the gold deficit might not be that much later on, just because of Kleptomancy coming in clutch for the Alawi here.
Yeah, but the biggest thing coming out of that, in my opinion, is the fact that, excuse me, Hot Office got a full wave, possibly a wave and a half of top lane solo XP. Because he shoved the wave in the tower, which honestly I feel like hurt his top laner more than helped it. Yes, it saves Terra's TP, but the CS differential currently of 15 plus the first blood kill. I mean, yes, there is wave shoving in, but I feel like that didn't deny as much as they were hoping, as we're seeing another trade down in the bottom lane. Homie is getting rather low on mana, doesn't really have a lot of options to continue trading down in that bottom lane, and Examon just completely controlling this top lane.
Well, that gold difference might not matter from the CS if Alawi keeps landing those ghosts, getting those klepto procs. But I don't remember exactly, but I do believe that the wave was slow pushing to the Fiora anyways, so it was very important that the Trundle shove it in there.
I mean, if you know the Fiora doesn't have teleport, so it's not like you're really losing a lot if you don't. Parry a little late. Xmon's actually going to lose out very heavily on this trade. Might actually be forced back here, which is really not
Who's gonna show up?
Does have a it is warded out though.
It looks like Nami and Trundle gonna gank their own lane here.
Yes, they are. A nice use of the Grand Entrance to get the disengaged here. Is going to eat a lot of damage on the backside. Ignite and the burst from the Kaisa secures the kill, but it's actually Office who secures the kill on the backside with the Ignite. So you can't ever underestimate the amount of burst from a Kaisa if she can proc all that plasma.
Well, here's the important point now. The Talia is level 6. We might start... decent attempt to try and get a kill on the Orianna there, forcing out the flash.
Yeah, unfortunately, Aerolite trying to make sure he's secure.
Terra in a bad position here.
Yes, but the minion wave shows up just in time to make sure he stays A-okay.
That feels bad, man.
But I mean, if Avery can hit level 6 here within the next, looks to be about a minute or so, that's 100% kill onto TerraFox with the decent kick into the Grand Challenge. But the issue is that he's going to have to hit level 6 before that flash comes back out.
I would argue against that being 100% kill just because of that Alawi ultimate that she's bringing out right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Examon was a little too late committing the ultimate. Didn't use and on top of the fact that I don't think Examon is pairing the right ability. He keeps trying to
parry the tentacles slapping down on her face.
Rather than pairing the E, because if you parry the E, Alawi doesn't do anything. But that is going to even out the gold in that top lane. Actually, might even give it slightly in favor of the Alawi.
Now,
it's 11 gold difference. It's essentially even.
But in my opinion, the Alawi made a slight misplay here. She backed with the wave slow pushing towards the Fiora, towards Examon, and it just allows Examon to slightly mitigate the loss that he had in that 1v1. Just slightly, ever so slightly.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest mistake that came out of Examon was committing the Ignite.
But we see the Lee Sin going through the jungle, just trying to find whatever he can. He's going across a pink ward, though. Possible engage or just damage.
He's trying to send a message.
And that message is, here I am. Hit me.
Fight me. or if you're a fan of, I believe it was Cars, it's Here I Am, Love Me. But, you know... That's the tale. Yes. Yes, we are going to see a little bit of a contest over the blue buff. It does actually end up going over to Avery as he does have to smite that away. But, crucially, that does give him kick. And all the playmaking potential is available to this Lee Sin.
Well, the next big objective coming up here is Rift Herald, and after taking that early Mountain Drake, timing it up so that it's not on this field at the same time, we're going to be seeing Lee Sin in the topside jungle. Trundle should be migrating over there.
Pretty sure this is a dead... Oh, no. Oh, is he going to get the Q?
He empowered attacked a minion. Feels bad, man.
Yeah, that was a very, very close duel up in that top lane. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go. I was holding my bated breath because anytime you have two high damage champions up in that top lane, you always got to be on the pins and needles, because you never really know on how this top lane is gonna end up going here. We could see another play down in the bottom side of the map, but it looks like teams are gonna take a short breath. We have playmaking potential now available on Homie, has that level 6.
So now Lee Sin
But-
had pathed to the top side jungle, but his efforts were
I think he stole a
Play-
Gromp.
yeah, he stole Gromp, but he was looking for a top kill, but he was unfortunately just a tad too late as Examon managed to get that, so he mitigated his time spent by invading, getting some vision in the jungle, and stealing a camp. Meanwhile, the Trundle answered that without even knowing that he was doing it by going into their jungle after spending so much time looking for something in the bottom lane and stealing his Gromp.
I feel like both junglers are unintentionally mirroring each other. Like, the map in terms of pressure has been split. We haven't really seen Hot Office go up to the top lane other than the initial play. And we've seen Avery gone up to the top lane time and time again. Well,
And
on the other side,
meanwhile, Hot Office going to the bottom lane time and time again, and Avery not really answering there either.
And speaking of that, we do actually see him hovering out of vision, trying to see if he can set up a play. It looks like he is just going to back. They do have Yoki holding on to that Talia ultimate a little bit longer than I anticipated, because I think if he was able to get into a position to roam up to this top lane, he could very much solidify his top laner's position, because Terra is really struggling in terms of farm.
Well, Talia is finding a slight problem with her roam in the fact that all of the side laners have a dash. If she walls them off, they haven't burned their dash, they can dash over the wall and none of her teammates can follow because none of them have dashes to get over, outside of maybe the Kai'Sa activating her ultimate.
Yeah, but still, you kind of need that high impact first ultimate, so we might end up seeing Yoki holding it till they get level 11 when she gets the increased range. But we do have Drake spawning. It's an Infernal Drake. You know we're going to see a lot of action around that here in the coming minutes, because you really don't want to give over Mountain and Infernal to the team composition.
And Scuttle spawned on the bottom, and now we're seeing a collapse going down.
Oh no, this could
Poor
be
Trundle.
one very dead troll, but does have flash. Is just going to be forced to flash over the wall. He did secure the Scuttle, importantly. But
I don't know if they saw him smite the Scuttle, but his smite will be up probably for when the dragon finally is going to be taken.
yes, but a lot of burst damage going on to Office. We do still have Hot Office. Is in position. Killer Instinct going in, but it doesn't land onto anyone. So much burst damage going down onto Office. Golden into the Zanyas, but is not able to slide. Flash from Astracut, followed up by the double flash from Avery instead. Does secure the kill, so it's in the 3v3 in the bottom lane. Favors BDSM.
A really good follow-up by BDSM on that fight. You notice how all four of them were there. The Talia was still in the mid lane dealing with a wave, and just the Nami getting initiated on by the Lee Sin, and now this is going to translate into a free Drake. Trundle is going to be clearing his bottom jungle and trying to rotate to the top side and try to force a Rift Arrow at some point.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Examon, I think, is just dead here. Does get a nice parry, but just doesn't do enough damage. Start off too low HP to try to secure that kill. I think that was just a little disrespectful from Examon.
Well, Examon has been dancing in and out of this Alawi all game long. She's been trying to see where it is that she can apply her force, where it is that she can't, and just sometimes it's paying off and sometimes it's not. She's 2 and 3 right now, so it is paying off about even with how often it's not. And
Yeah,
she still has a CS lead, but when it comes to the gold, they're actually even. Alawi has about a 20 gold lead, which doesn't amount to anything.
Yeah, that Kleptomancy coming in clutch because both of them have 2 kills. It's a 16 CS advantage, so that's about a kill's worth of gold in terms of farm. But oh, the joys of Kleptomancy, giving people free gold here. And I have to give a lot of credit to Aerolite, who's been very quiet in the mid lane, but is staying up in farm, hasn't died yet. And considering their team fight composition in terms of a 4-man squad, as we do see the Rift Herald being taken off by Hot Office.
A very efficient Rift Herald coming up by the Trundle. Trundle had gone on to that not too long before, and then Talia coming in just to make sure that it's secured before Lee Sin and Orianna rotate in.
Yes, we Xmon playing a little bit too far forward. Does know he does have his jungler PA butts up nearby, but
there it is! He got him stuck in the wall!
Yes, oh, the joys of Trundle Pillar. We do see the flash be blown by the Grand Challenge up in the top lane, so Terra does not have that flash available. Still is waiting on that leap of faith, which is just coming off cooldown, but we do have the initiation onto Office down to the bottom side. Nice wave, does buy a little bit of time. Nice shove from Yuki, keeps his team alive, but the killer instinct gets the turnaround kill as Cook tried to secure the kill onto Homie. Should be able to do so with one more auto. Oh, that turnaround in the 2v2 plus the kill in the top lane. Just everything going in favor of DOV.
And they're summoning Rift Herald in the mid lane after getting a lot of damage on the Orianna. They want this tower. They're going for first blood
But
here.
they don't have a wave.
First tower blood.
They don't have a wave, so I don't actually think Shelly will be able to secure that. It does get it extremely low. But it's
if they had walked in with Shelly, they could have taken it. Shelly counts.
But Shockwave's up.
But Shelly counts as a minion, reducing the tower's armor and magic resist. But they get first tower anyways in the bottom lane.
I just think it's too risky going under tower, even with a minion there in Shelly. Because if that Orianna Shockwave comes through, you can get punished so extremely heavily.
Well, there is merit to that.
Yes, but they, as you said, they still get first tower regardless due to the 2v2 prowess of Astrocook and Office, who honestly have shown in every single game to be the superior 2v2 lane, in my honest opinion.
And at the very least, look at that mid tower. It's almost a sliver of HP. It is well set up for whenever they want to do their next thing.
Nothing more than a stiff breeze will knock down that mid lane tower. Xmon trying to do what he can up in the top lane. Still waiting on.
You're excused.
I hope so, because, you know, I still have probably another 15 minutes or so of this game to go through. We're still waiting on the full item completion on the Hydra, on the Fiora. We have the Black Cleaver already completed on the Terra. We could see a potential 3-man play here as the bottom lane has rotated from BDSM into this middle lane. So that looked like they were trying to set up a play on the top side, but they chose to back off because Examon had to reset.
Now, despite the board looking relatively even, 3 kills on the side of DOV, though, they are up 3,000 gold here. Which isn't exactly sizable, but it certainly shows the flow of the game in their favor.
It's
the next
2,000 gold in the 80 carry roll.
Yeah, and they're going for this mid tower, easy take, more gold for them. The next dragon to spawn is going to be a fire drake. We've got Baron spawning at roughly the same time. If they manage to get a pick for either team, this could be a swing, either to secure the game for DOV.
We do have the Leap of Faith coming in. Exmon eating a bunch of damage. Is going to get the flash. Is trying to return the damage onto Terra, but unfortunately just not enough, as once again, Exmon don't think he's super familiar in this matchup.
afraid to get your feet wet.
I think it has less to do with familiarity and more to do with just the sheer bullying that Alawi is able to bring out when she has tentacles around her.
Oh, unfortunately, Avery's not able to get the steal. Is going to trade his life for it. Killer Instinct is going to come in. Shockwave was channeled but not completed. As it's a 3-for-0 across the map for the side of DOV, and things are starting to look rather grim for BDSM.
Now, props for trying on that Drake. Lee Sin has some of the strongest potential for securing and stealing major buffs with his
I think
Q.
it's less now. Because he doesn't have missing health damage on his Q anymore.
It's still very strong because it's easy to combo.
But it's not quite as good as it used to be. In terms
Not
of skill.
quite as good, but still some of the best because it's just so easy to combo.
Yes, but we do see the mid lane tier 2 fall, and that is a 5,500 gold advantage for DOV. They're probably going to look to get Baron vision control here, look to set up the play because they have a metric ton of damage to do to the Baron. They have Kaisa, they have Talia, they have Trundle, Alawi. They have so much damage onto this Baron that he can pull out at a moment's notice. And Terra is getting engaged on by Examon. Leap of Faith is available, hasn't committed to it yet. Grand Challenge came out, but it's just not enough of damage. And considering Leap of Faith is still available, I think that's just a little too aggressive. There's that Leap of Faith. So much burst damage onto Examon. Is able to get some healing from the Ravenous Hydra on the back side, and Hot Office being in the right place at the right time. Flash Subjugate coming in, trying to get the nice W into the instant charm, but Examon's getting engaged on by the backside by Yoki, is getting turned off by the side of BDSM, but there's just not enough damage as it's a double kill at the end of the fight. Actually, a triple kill going over to the Talia, while the last kill going over to Terra Fox as it's a 4-for-0 for DOV.
Well done, DOV. Managing to force the Fiora out of the fight early and still managing to catch her when she came back in. The others were trying to help her out, but just so much damage coming out from DOV, and this is going to translate into a free Baron for them. And they're going to potentially just group up top lane and force down 1-2 towers maybe.
I think it's very easily to be 2 towers. You have a 5-man squad. You have a massive amount of damage. Aerolite just gets... Aerolite... Actually, I don't think Aerolite was there in the fight, but I feel like Aerolite felt bad for not allowing DOV to get an ace, so he just felt like being generous.
You know, it's a delayed ace. Delayed ace is an ace in my books.
Yes.
So a massive swing in the side of DOV. They've got a 10k gold lead at this point. Fiora moved to the bottom lane to pick up that wave and is going to try to get some damage on this tower. But when it comes down to it, a Knight's Vow on the Trundle going on to the Kaisa, just making sure that she's going to be able to survive. We're seeing a very bruiser build coming out of Trundle here, as he knows he doesn't have a lot of stats to siphon, so he's instead building the tank stats instead for himself. And it's really showing on the side of BDSM that they just don't have any health pools to deal with this damage coming out. They don't have the resistances, the health.
Nothing to see there. Nothing to see there.
Poor Examon.
Yes, and unfortunately, it does look like Homie and Avery will be following suit. Yuki going unstoppable on that Talia, and it's just going from bad to worse to worse.
And Baron Buff just exacerbates the split push problem that was being shown by this team comp in general. We've got Alawi pushing down the top lane. They're all pushing down the bottom lane. They're going to be able to take towers like it's nothing. They have a mountain.
There is just way too much damage for the side of DOV. There's absolutely nothing BDSM can do other than just watch their base slowly crumble in pieces around them. They're looking to potentially end. They have double inhibitors down in the side lane. Talia Wall coming in, trying to zone them off. They do burst down Avery. Nobody's up for 5 seconds. That is going to be the game for DOV as they secure their spot in the semifinals with the reverse sweep, taking it 2-1 in 25 minutes in game 3.
There you have it. DOV grabbing victory from the claws of defeat, sweeping 2 games after their initial loss.
Yeah, with a combined score of like 48-10 in the 2 games. So just like the difference between having Chilovers in and Yoki in is absolutely night and day for the side of DOV.
I think it had less to do with that and more with just how well they were able to adapt to their opponents. When it came to the first game, they were feeling everything out. They didn't know quite what to expect, but with the last 2 games, they got rid of the problem champions, which were the Akali and the Xin Zhao, and then they managed to get people onto some comfort picks, and they just really just sort of chained them up. They put them on a leash, and they said heal.
Yeah, and the heal effect was BDSM's head going into the dirt about 6 feet under because they had more gray screens than victory screens in those last 2 games. But it's a great performance coming in out of DOV. I do want to still say congratulations for BDSM for qualifying for playoffs, making it to the quarterfinals. Unfortunately, their season does end here today. I do want to ask who your MVP of the series is.
My MVP of the series? Oof. You know, it's really hard to place it because BDSM had a very strong showing from a lot of their players. When it came to, or not BDSM, DOV had a really strong showing from a lot of their players. If it came to BDSM, I would say Admiral Avery, just really applying that pressure where he could, being at the places he needed to be when he needed to be there. But when it comes to DOV, it really shows that the game is a team game and not so much solo players or even duo. They really put forth a very strong showing today from across the board. But if I were to pick one in particular, I want to say Astro Cuck. He had some very strong outplays, very mechanically intensive moments, and really just showing how well he knew where to position, where to place his damage.
Yes, I would have to agree. The bottom lane of DOV was their heart and soul throughout this series as a whole. Give them a lot of credit for their performance. They will be back next week for their semifinals, as I do believe we are already both semifinals on the same week. I could be wrong. But we are done for this week. We will be back on Thursday with our bronze and silver division and our gold division here back at Everlife Gaming Network. Please be sure to tune in on Thursdays for that. I am Primus. He is Ruahi. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night, and thanks for tuning in.
The Rakan knockup. However, the Nami
does have one thing that Rakan doesn't, which is easy to use healing.
Yes, easy to use healing and the ability to boost.
Oh, that's just going to be first blood to Axamon, just forgetting that Axamon actually took the ignite. Nice parry is in the next. Oh, looks to be about a minute or so. That's 100% kill onto Terrafox with the decent kick into the Grand Challenge. But the issue is that he's going to have to hit level 6 before that flash comes back out.
I would argue against that being 100% kill just because of that Alawi ultimate that she's bringing out right now. But his smite will be up probably for when the dragon finally is going to be taken.
Yes, but a lot of burst damage going on to Office. We do still have Hot Office is in position. Killer Instinct going in, but it doesn't land onto anyone. So much burst damage going down onto Office. Golden into the Zanyas, but is not able to slide. Flash from Astrocon, followed up by the double flash from Avery, and that does secure the kill. So it's up in the top thing. So Terra does not have that flash available. Still is waiting on that leap of faith that's just coming off cooldown, but we do have the initiation on Office down to the bottom side. Nice wave, does buy a little bit of time. Nice shove from Yuki, keeps his team alive, but the killer instinct gets the turnaround kill as Cook tried to secure the kill onto Homie. Should be able to do so with one more auto.
I think it has less to do with familiarity and more to do with just the sheer bullying that Alawi is able to bring out when she has tentacles around her.
Oh, unfortunately, Avery's not able to get the steal. Is going to trade his life for her. Killer Instinct is going to come in. Shockwave was channeled but not completed. Office being in the right place at the right time. Flash, Subjugate coming in, trying to get the nice W into the instant charm, but Xmon's getting engaged on by the backside. By Yoki is getting turned off by the side of BDSM, but there's just not enough damage as it's a double kill at the end of the fight. Actually, a triple kill going over to the Talia while the
exacerbates the split push problem that was being shown by this team comp in general. We've got Alawi pushing down the top lane. They're all pushing down the bottom lane. They're going to be able to take towers like it's nothing. They have a mountain.
There is just way too much damage for the side of DOV. There's absolutely nothing BDSM can.
I vow to right this wrong. I promise here and now. I loved you all along. I threw away my crown. I lost my sanity.